Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the United Front podcast. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Right now, we have a special guest on the show. Jacob and Christina will be along shortly, I do believe. But guys, welcome on in. Justin's already over in the chat. Justin, oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. Yeah, we're going to get to that, Justin. I promise you we will get to that one. Josh is here as well. And yes, Josh, we do. We will talk about it, and we'll talk about just all the bad. But before we get there, we do have a special guest on the show. You've heard us mention him several times in the past. And I want to say a big thank you to Shadow Wolf, who is joining us all the way from Germany this evening, where it is 4 a.m. So Shadow Wolf, we appreciate you being here. You've kept Jacob on his toes when it comes to announcing the shows and putting the show links out there. Guys, if you haven't gone and followed him yet, like we've suggested, Shadow Wolf is the host of Der USL podcast, a German language USL podcast, as well as the Fallen Leaves podcast, which covers the Hearts of Pine from Maine. So please go and check those out. Shadow, so glad to have you here, and thank you so much for keeping Jacob honest with posting the show links every week.
I still think I'm on the naughty list of Jacob because of that, and I'm glad to discuss with him in a few minutes. But yeah, I'm glad to finally being here, and honestly, it's a pleasure. I mean, I'm listening to you on a weekly basis. I try to be as honest as possible with all your takes, because you often are quite different, because, you are more the, let's say, down-to-earth guy. Then we have some guys and girls having some strange predictions, like last week against Hartford. And I'm really trying to be like the middle ground guy. And yeah, it's fun to listen to your previews, reviews, recaps, and see how the world is going on in New Mexico. Yeah, and I'm really glad to now be here on the show instead of just being the listener one day later and giving you conclusion tweets or skeets when it's already too late.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we're certainly excited to have you on. You and I have talked about this for some time, and you and I have talked about all the different things that you've become involved with. And for those that haven't had the chance to talk to you, how did you first start following the USL, and then how did that lead into you doing your own USL podcasts?
Okay, it could be a really long story, so I really try to make it as short as possible. But the easy answer is I'm a US soccer fan for over 17 years at this point. I never really had my own team, which I could call my home. In the later stages of the 2010-ish years, I wanted to let's say, scout the Puerto Rican national team and checked, are there any players of them playing in the USL currently? And there was one, Cody Lorendi, who was then the goalkeeper of OKC. So I figured, okay, let's watch a couple of games of OKC Energy, because they are on the YouTube channel of the USL, easy to watch, and I can scout them. I was tweeting about the game. I was, let's say, just 2 games in already, could say, accepted by the OKC fans, by Cody Lorendi himself, and then somehow became an SG member and was watching them on a weekly basis. OKC died, as you all knew. Then I wanted to be on a hiatus and not find a team, and then somehow found the RGV Toros. And the sad thing is, my first thing to the RGV Toros was, my first thought was, hey, they are like OKC, just from Texas. If I had known how true this statement would become in the future, I maybe would have chosen a different club. But 22, 23 season, 22 just a fan and SG member. And then in 23, I started my own English solo USL podcast, which was known as El Gringo. Let's talk about RGV, which is, could say, a similar podcast to yours. So recaps about the games, being on the press conferences with Rima Cabrera, previewing the next game, and so on. And yeah, and then the club died too in the year 2023. And then the whole thing started over again. So to make it really short, I'm a long-time US soccer fan, watched anything from really grassroots to higher up. And I already tried my part to support the USL community as possible. So listening to different shows, giving my honest feedback, helping them out when they need help, writing for them if I need something to cover teams, and so on and so on. So yeah, could say I'm a more trick pony from hosting podcasts to supporting podcasts to writing things. I try my best to make the community a tiny bit better.
Yeah, no, you certainly have. And this is something we've talked about on and off the air, either within group chat with myself and Jacob and Christina, or on the air with various guests. But it's the reach of soccer, it's the reach of the game, and just how global it is. And to hear you say you didn't really have a club, given the fact that I believe you grew up in Germany.
Yep.
Yes. With how big the game is over there, how is it that you didn't have a club to support?
I mean, I maybe should be a bit more precise. I didn't have a US soccer club which I could support. Like, I'm a Hertha Berlin fan since my birth, which is like now a second Bundesliga side, which was a long time a first division team. And I have a team which is also nearly to my birthdays from the Czech Republic. But like, for being then, I believe, like 12, 13 year-ish of US soccer support, I then still didn't have my own club. Just to be a bit more precise.
Okay, yeah, no, I was very curious about that. I was like, well, it's given the popularity of the sport and just how big it is around basically other than the US, it was odd to hear that you did have a club. So I was curious about that. Speaking of your following of OKC, I don't know if you saw the news, but there was a bit of a news leak over on Reddit. Apparently, OKC has filed for a new trademark. OKC United.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
I mean, I think the energy name is far better. I don't know why they would go United.
I mean, you could say it's the typical new owner stick, so they try to rebrand and make something own. But yeah, as a former SG member of OKC, now being an SG member of Tulsa, by the way, it's just boring. Like, I can understand that some maybe don't like the moniker or the old logo, but going from something unique like Energy to something bland like United, clearly a downgrade.
Oh, I don't disagree with that one bit. I think, again, Energy is unique. It's different. It shows a bit more character than what you typically see from American sports teams, at least in the realm of soccer. So I don't like it. I wish they would stay Energy, or maybe come up with something else. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with there? But obviously OKC is coming back at some point. Let me ask you, from your perspective, for someone who's outside the U.S., when you watch U.S. soccer, no matter what level it's at, MLS, USL 1, USL 2, how does it compare to what you see in European soccer in terms of athleticism, in terms of quality of play, in terms just compare the two, if you would?
The interesting thing is, I could say, have different things heard depending on people you ask. Like, I already figured, like, if you want to compare the USA Championship to, let's say, German division soccer, that, let's say, the best teams of the championship could hang with, let's say, the lower teams of the second division, the rest more or less in the third. When I asked players in my interviews who have German playing experience, it is interesting because, for example, Patrick Rakowski, who you don't like, he was like saying when he came on my German interview back in the day, the same thing. Like, best clubs in the second division in Germany, the rest maybe lower. When I did an English interview with him a couple of months ago, he was more or less like, maybe still just fourth division or less. So I'm honestly mixed, because I think the better team of the quality and let's say the ground stuff wise, like their own stadium, their own academies, should be able to hang with the, let's say, lower tier teams in Germany, for example. The rest, I would say, maybe not. But because my main focus back in the day of European soccer was more or less like the Czech Republic and Germany, I really can't compare them to, let's say, Denmark, where many USL players are going to, or Scandinavia. So just on the German soccer aspect, I would say, yeah, I'm mixed. Like, sometimes I think when seeing the games, lower teams in the second division, the rest third. But sometimes when really watching duel or bad games, I'm downgrading them to lower divisions.
I can certainly understand that. And I think we can all agree that to some extent the USL as a whole is improving. I know some people say the gap to MLS is closing. I don't, we're not there yet. I know that some talent has developed out of the USL and moved on and up. Diego Luna being one of the more recent names to move onward and upward. But there have been other names, the Winders, who have gone on to play over in Europe, and things like that. I mean, do you see the talent here catching up, or do you think that the American system as a whole just is not developing players anywhere close to the rest of the world?
I mean, if we are honest and looking on, let's say, the more or less famous players going to Europe, we have to say that most of them are either going to more or less relative, let's say, small clubs or systems. Like one of the guys of Birmingham was transferred to a third division side in Lithuania, for example, which is like, okay, why? And even the Winder brothers, or the, let's say, it'll be the younger Winder, didn't really go to Benfica Lisbon, the A team, or more or less to the B team, and played in the lower leagues there to let's say, start his journey. So I would say most of the European transfers we see are either really smaller leagues or countries to compare to, where I not really think like it's a big upgrade for them to make the trip. Maybe just if they want to have, let's say, the European flavor, okay. But looking on the number of players who are really, let's say, starters or big in clubs and bigger names, it's not that many. Like, for example, Milan Ilowski, who was a big name in the USL, transferred to Denmark. I'm not really sure if he played that a lot, and he's now back in the United States. So I would say it's mixed. So it depends on how young they are and how really, let's say, trustful their environment in Europe is. But so far, I don't really see many of them either being an upgrade to European clubs or itself having an upgrade to the USL level. Like third division in Lithuania, I'm sorry, but in what world is this really an upgrade to playing in another championship level, for example?
No, completely understandable. Speaking of Milan Ilowski, he actually transferred to Philadelphia Union today.
Yep.
So yeah, I hadn't even heard. I honestly missed that news today while I was at work. So interesting to see that he came back. I mean, like you said, he was a bigger name, one that was recognizable throughout the USL. And there was another transfer out to Belgium this week as well. Jean Margarita from Phoenix Rising is gone over to Belgium as of, I think, yesterday. So, I mean, again, I don't, you wonder what sort of impact these players have. I mean, obviously you're going to have the occasional player like a Diego Luna or a Winder or, even Christian Pulisic is one who from a very early age, but I think Pulisic and some of the others are kind of on the out. I don't even think you can call them American prospects because they really didn't come up through the U.S. academy system. As soon as they were old enough, they went overseas.
Exactly. I would say it depends on which route you are going and how old you are when you make your trip to Europe. Like if you have let's say here, the possibility to have your own talent from, let's say, 13 years in, and then he's already, let's say, 2-3 pro years in when he's really, let's say, 18, 19, 20. Why should you get a player of the United States who is, let's say, 25, 24-ish and just has 2-3 years in college and 1 season in the USL? So if you don't really have the Diego Lunas to transfer to Europe when they are, let's say, on the same academy breakout talent level of the age, it's tough to really, let's say, see them being on the interest level of European clubs if they are not breakout stars like, for example, Diego Luna.
Mm-hmm. Jacob had a question over there. Hey, I'm on the way with a question. Why the interest in U.S. soccer at all? I know you mentioned earlier, looking at Puerto Rico, you saw Cody Lorendi. What got you exactly interested in, specifically, looking at, Puerto Rico rather than, say, South America or, places where there tends to be a lot more talent coming out of it?
I mean, I have to, let's say, to break the question in two parts, because I was already a fan of US soccer way before Puerto Rico soccer interest. But I mean, United States still have the big name and the flavor about why the United States. I still think many of the soccer aspects in the United States are for me more intriguing than European things. For example, the playoff route is something I really enjoy and think it couldn't hurt here in Europe. And some countries do playoffs, like my heritage country, the Czech Republic, does that in some kind. So there were, let's say, soccer aspects in the United States I really liked and still like, and think they are more interesting than, for example, German soccer. And then I still would say, yeah, the fans and the clubs feel more natural. You have a bigger way to be a part of the community, to really have an impact, to be closer to the club, to the players, to the guys, than just, let's say, being a casual fan or even a supporters fan in Germany, because the gap between club and yourself is way too big to be really something more than just a paying customer. So yeah, the mixture of, let's say, being a part of the community, seeing the soccer grow, enjoying them, having friends and colleagues over there with them having time, was more intriguing than just doing the typical Euro snob thing of, hey, we are so great, because nope, we are not. And second, hey, United States are still the United States, even with all the politic things. And Puerto Rico, I just love the island and many things coming from there. Like, for example, the music was one of the things I found really early, with a video game called Grand Theft Auto 4, which is playing in New York, and they have a completely Puerto Rican reggaeton station, which was my first contact to Puerto Rico and the music and everything. And then it grew from there, like looking on the soccer aspect, watching the games of their local league, scouting the players, watching them, and yeah. So it's like two different parts which are connected together, because Puerto Rico is, in my eyes, still, I believe, the overseas territory of the United States. So, yeah, it wasn't really far from going from one side to the other.
Okay, yeah, I think that answered Jacob's question there. One thing you brought up that I hadn't really talked about with anybody is you're talking about the community aspect and the gap between the club and it seeing you as more than just a customer. What is it about football clubs in Europe that is it just the simple fact that they treat it more of a business rather than being involved in the surrounding community and trying to uplift it? Or is there something else that you think is causing that gap?
I mean, I would say it's already too big to fail and too big to be really a part of. Like, here in the United States, you have the chance to be there from the start, to really be a part of the community. For example, helping the club out, being there in person, being a front office member, going to the games, doing an SG thing. You are really close. And even if you join later, you still can be a vital part of the organization. But here in Europe or even Germany, with clubs being decades old, you're either a fan of them because they are really good and you just want to be a fan of a big club like Bayern Munich, or it's really heritage because your father and grandfather or grandmother came to the club. But outside of really being, let's say, one of the supporters group members there, I don't really see a way to be a part connected to the club itself, because why should they connect with each other? So they are really apart, two different worlds. Like, the fans are one side and support the team and pay the bills and try to do something, and the others are like, yeah, famous on Instagram, having millions on their bank pockets, and it's tough to relate to them. But in the United States, you still have like the same, at least, feeling level. You could be, let's say, related or being a friend to a pro player or help them out in something.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Coming at it from our perspective, obviously, I told the story about how I moved out here and New Mexico United was announced, and I said, okay, I'm all in because this is where I'm at. After my love of soccer developed, I wanted to be in. And you talk about, talking about being clubs coming up and being able to get in at the ground floor. Portland Hearts of Pine is one of those. You
Yes.
look at what's going on in other places as well. Look at the following that Ford Madison has had, and Portland is growing. And what was about Portland specifically that got you interested in covering them and developing a relationship with them and building the podcast?
First of all, I just want to say hi to Mariano Soler, the host of the 918 Outsiders podcast, because he commented Tulsa is bigger than OKC, which I have to agree on, and I'm still thankful for him to picking me up back in the day. And he was one part of me converting to Tulsa when it happened and OKC died. But going to your question, I really didn't had a plan in first of doing something else after RGV died. I wanted to wait to see if something grows and something comes up or it seems interesting, because I was already interested in Maine, the state, because it reminds me of, let's say, Scandinavian countries or countries I visited, let's say Scotland or Norway, from the culture, the nature, the scenery. I had interest in them. Then there was another video game, Fallout 4, which plays partly in Maine, and you had some connections there to, let's say, embrace the islands of Maine. And then the appeal of doing something right from the start, because looking back on my adventures with OKC and RGV, I felt like I was too late there to do really something meaningful, because the apple was already rotten, the tree was already, let's say, dying, and you couldn't fix anything anymore. So one of the goals of doing this podcast, which is, by the way, the first and oldest of the three Hearts of Pie related podcasts, was to build the bridge between the fans and the club to, let's say, don't let them make the mistakes of the other clubs prior to them. So yeah, I wanted to do something meaningful to help the team grow, to build the bridge between, let's say, the fans, the club, the front office, and obviously European fans who could find the way. And yeah, just trying to do a tiny impact to make the world a bit better and cover the Hearts of Pine on a weekly basis and giving them some news. Because if they are not Sacramento or Tampa, it's tough for them to get anything newsworthy in certain outlets.
No, I completely agree with that. There are certainly a few clubs that tend to get the majority of the coverage and mentions outside of the lower league system. So it's certainly good to see more and more coverage, and the number of fans growing. And as we see clubs reemerge and come back, Cosmos are coming back once again. I think maybe one day Rochester will come back at some point, but I think there's a potential for unlimited growth here. And so that kind of leads me to the next question, is talking about their USL podcast, your German language one. I think that's another great way that people from outside of the US, outside of our ecosystem, can become introduced to the USL and to the American way of soccer. And how did that one come about? And what's been the reception to that been like for you?
I have to say, if you follow US soccer in general in Europe, you have two groups. Either they are interested because they like the United States, or they're where the typical Euro snobs guys were like, hey, MLS and only in retirement league and blah 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 blah. And it was never really my shtick of game being an MLS fan, so it wasn't really my thing. But it bothered me to see like there is nobody interested into anything other than MLS. And remember, it was prior to the Messi transfer. It was back in the day of, let's say, Schweinsteiger being at Chicago, for example. And my co-host, she already had an MLS podcast, a German one, which is, I believe, a bigger deal than our podcast. And I always wanted to have an USL podcast to cover the league and to do our part to grow the league and at least the interest here in Germany or in German-speaking countries. Because she was against doing it solo, and I then was not experienced enough to do it solo. We came together, and since then, let's say the season going on a weekly basis, and it is fun, but a bit stressful to do it with two separate schedules, two separate kinds of doing things, and it's two let's say different sets of mindsets and characteristics. But it's fun. Like we have fun, we enjoy, we cover the league, the leagues in general, and try to be as unbiased as possible. So we look on the results of the last week and think, okay, which could be interesting at the most for the listeners. And we don't usually go like, okay, it has to be a 4-0, so we take it. But we could, for example, hey, this match, there was an early red card, this deflected the whole game. Let's talk about that. When there are news, for example, transfers, coaching changes, clubs dying, coming, NISA, we cover that too. So really try to make it, let's say, a broader spectrum on the USA in general than just covering the favorite teams week in, week out. So it's fun, but she's like more or less the social media handling on Facebook or doing her thing on Instagram. So I can't really say anything about, let's say, comments below the episode there. But the numbers are still steady, and I think we're doing our own part, but it would be better if we had more listener feedback to really see how is the interest in the USA.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like, it really is great to hear. And I didn't know.
I mean, 140-ish episodes already, so we should be in, I think, season 3 or 4 right now. So yeah, it's fun, but exhausting.
It certainly can be. I know that we had extended our coverage, back during the World Cup, a couple years ago, and that became a lot to do. And so we tried to do all these different things, and during the off season, try to make it into something else. And yeah, I think when you can focus on a topic, and like you do kind of a whip around type show and focus on pick out a handful of results and deliver the news and transfers and things like that. I think it does help grow that level of interest there. Something you brought that I'm always interested in, and I know people refer to MLS for years as a retirement league, and the league was trying to get away from that by bringing in some younger players, but now you see guys like, Son coming into MLS. Antonio Carlos is into MLS.
Dun, dun, dun. Sorry.
There's Jacob.
Shadow, my guy. I know I don't see a Seth fan club thing down there.
Good morning, but nice to finally have you here.
I apologize for being late. First day of school was tomorrow, so it's been a day. But I have been listening. I've been over in the chat. Super excited to have you on, Shadow Wolf, and glad I could make it. I wouldn't miss all of it for sure. So I had to make sure to show up a little bit.
I mean, we just started time to not talk about the Hartford match, which was rough. So you are a bit lucky. You had to stay away for an hour because now you have to talk about the Hartford.
No, I would rather have talked about what you were talking about than United stuff this week. So, but you did say Son right before I joined, and that was good timing there because I did want to bring that up, seeing as he is going to my MLS team.
Yeah, I would just want to bring that up because
going to my MLS team.
MLS had been trying for years to to get rid of the retirement league, and now you've got guys like Son and Carlos coming in, guys who are towards the end of their careers, obviously bigger names, and there's some other potential moves as well. Is MLS going back to a retirement league?
No. I mean, Son is 33. He's definitely not a spring chicken, but when he's on the pitch, he's still one of the better left wingers in the Premier League, in my opinion. He did deal with some injuries last year, but also I think part of that was Tottenham was a disaster last year. So I don't know if they were a disaster because he was injured, or if he was injured because he was a disaster, or they were a disaster. I think the Son move for it, not just looking at LAFC, but the MLS as a whole, is is one of the bigger moves, mainly the audience that he brings. The South Korean audience love them some Son, and so the cash grab that Justin's talking about here, they will be making money hand over fist. It's why they were willing to give up 22.25 million or 26.25 million to Tottenham for him, plus whatever they're paying him. But I'm excited for it's now 2 LAFC Tottenham players that have gone from Tottenham to LAFC, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yep. Yeah, obviously Premier League, Bundesliga, all right around the corner. College football is right around the corner. NFL is right around the corner. So a lot of things going to be happening over the next month and a half, 2 months. Before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the show, Shadow was telling me beforehand that he had been listening. Obviously he listens week in and week out. He went out and bought something at a local store that he wanted to discuss with us.
Okay.
Yeah, because you guys are often discussing Reese's, I believe is the correct pronunciation.
Yes.
And I was grocery shopping, or at least a tiny thing, because I figured, okay, if I really have to be on the podcast today, it's 4 a.m. and starting time. I need an energy drink or something. And then going through the sweets aisle, I found Reese's minis in peanut flavor. And I figured, okay, let's buy that because you are often talking about that. And now I have something American, or at least American stylish of your typical discussion. What's the best flavor or sweet in general? Now I have a Reese's Minis right next to me.
I don't know if I believe you since we don't have a camera there, Shadow Wolf.
I mean, I showed it before.
I have seen them, yes.
I showed to you when we are off the air, then you can see it in my camera.
Yeah. He does have them. I promise you he does. So yeah, he wanted to, we were discussing that earlier because, we've had our discussions about, favorite sweets and candies and, what goes together and what doesn't and all
so
that kind of stuff.
I'm assuming, Shadow, that you've had regular Reese's?
I honestly couldn't find anything Reese's except that so far. So it will be my first try off the air when we are just talking in private. Will be my first taste of that.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool. Can't wait to get to that. And also, folks do not want to discuss what happened this past weekend. Well, not even this past weekend, last Wednesday. It's been
almost a week ago.
It's been almost a week since this match took place, and I still can't get over this.
It was a while ago. We won, right?
Yeah, a bit.
We won the transfer war, right?
Well, it's like golf, right? The lower the score, the better.
Maybe.
Is that what it was? No? Okay.
No.
Fine, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about this. Last Wednesday, and the Mexico United decided to go out to the East Coast again for whatever reason, and decided to play Hartford Athletic.
Oh, you definitely don't have to do this part, Seth. we can talk about it. You don't have to make us relive it.
Yeah,
visually.
This was just, start to finish, this was just awful. Jacob, you and I were having discussion in our group chat, and Shadow Wolf, I want to get your take on this as well. We were about the definition of a trap game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We were discussing this, and on paper, you look at it. Yes, they have signings. They have Galena, who we were very familiar with. We're familiar with a number of individuals. They do have talent. On paper, though, they have been one of the most abysmal teams this season. Their form has gotten better, but
because they've gotten healthier, I'd like to add.
They have gotten healthier. To me, on paper, it looks like a trap game. Bottom of the table, they're getting healthy, they're finding their form. You and I have differing opinions of what a trap game is.
Yes.
So why was this not a trap game to you?
One, trap games usually happen when you are in a good run of form and you have an opponent coming up after the trap game, quote unquote, that you are looking towards more. You could say that Tulsa is definitely a better team on paper and in the standings, than Hartford, of course. So we could be looking forward to them, but that we had 10 days. We've got 10 days, right, between this match and when we play Tulsa. And we're not in a good run of form. So to me, the criteria is you have to be in a good to decent run of form. You have to have a match following this match that you are paying more attention to. And it has to be a bad team. Hartford in the standings is a bad team. You just mentioned it. Their form is turning around. They're definitely healthier. I watched that game, and I also didn't think, oh, this is... Usually when you watch a trap game, it's the team that the better team has a bad night. And the good team might, like in basketball, I look at trap games a lot in basketball because there's a lot of schedule losses in the NBA. And usually it's like, okay, we're going on the road to this bad team. They end up shooting the lights out at home, and we can't make a shot to save our lives, and blah, 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 blah. This was just a flat-out ass-kicking from Hartford to us. Like, we did not have a bad night, as in like, oh, we didn't do this or this one thing right. We just didn't do anything right. And it looks, to me, like we are definitely in a bit of a pivot point here. Like, we need to figure some shit out for sure. And so I think to call it a trap game is to say that we're much better than Hartford. And at this current moment in time, the last month, I don't think we are.
I think that's fair. Shadow, what's your take on this? When you look at the way that these two teams have been playing coming into it, was this a trap game for United? We had talked a couple weeks ago about, what happens if we come into this and we lose? Where are we at on our panic meter? Were we looking past Hartford at this point?
I mean, first of all, you and me, we were the more realistic guys when you were doing the predictions, because you were, let's say, concerned, and the others were like, hey, we're shooting them 5-0.
The 5-0 was Harry. He's not associated with United.
Sure.
But he's an outsider.
For sure. But I mean, like, you were all more or less optimistic about the game, and I was like, nah, it shouldn't be that. But yeah, I watched the game live. Fun fact, the co-host of my German podcast was live in the stadium. So she was watching it even in person. Honestly, I was, let's say, concerned too, because Hartford is not as bad as they might look. Yes, they are not as flashy and great as some other teams can be, but they still look better than in the last years. Somehow, I would still say they're typical Hartfordish. Like, they do stupid things. They lose some games on the way you can't really understand. But watching their recent form, how they could say kept Rhode Island at bay and looked there better in my eyes, I wasn't really thinking that New Mexico was the big dog in this match coming in of the recent run form. But in all honesty, I wouldn't have expected a 3-0 thrashing after not even 30 minutes. And was in the end surprised it was just the end result and not even higher. So I would go the Jacob route. Let's say if the match would have happened 1 month earlier, I would say trap game. But because of the recent run of form of New Mexico, yeah, it could have happened. It happened. And how can you say it? A punch to the mouth, but still not like the death blow.
Yeah, no, I can certainly see that. And one of the things that the broadcast crew made a point of saying was that that Las Vegas had a similar loss like this last year, and it was basically a kicking off point for them for the rest of their season. We're looking at how we perform, not just in this game, because this was just abysmal. I mean, you can say, oh, we had 70% possession, but again, we didn't do anything with it. We didn't do jack shit with the possession that we had. Like, this was awful. Jabang looked silly. We looked bad in the midfield. I mean, I felt bad for Alex Tambakis. Like, I mean, this should not have been the night that he got his record. Like, this is awful. Like, it's all credit to him for the all-time saves record, but this is terrible. I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, is this something that kicks us off to a better back end of the season? Because the schedule does not get any easier from here on out.
I think what I've learned, right? The Wright injury definitely hurt us more than I think we all thought it was going to hurt us, but I thought we'd be okay with Jabang back there, and we just haven't been for whatever reasons. I think that a couple things that I think with the transfer of Herbert and Gaines out, I'm not blaming the transfer out. What I'm getting at is I think that shows that the clubhouse isn't necessarily where it needs to be. The continuity, the meshing of personalities in there, I don't think that's quite where we hoped it would be or where we thought it was at the beginning of the year. So I think that we kind of rested on our laurels through most of the first half of the season, and we were talented enough to be in first place for a lot of it. But now the cracks are starting to show. And I think the transfer to get Valentin Noel in, and what I'm hoping is a couple more moves at center back and some other stuff between now and when we have to shut it down. I hope that brings us together. Right now, I give us an incomplete right now. Like, I can't give us a grade, or I don't really know what's going to happen moving forward because I don't know what the team's going to look like. And I think what I've come to realize through my rose-colored glasses that I always watch United with is that there are holes here that are bigger than we thought, and they need filled quick. And so if I do believe that if the team stays what it is and we don't make any more moves, even if Ryden comes back healthy, we are probably fighting for the 3-4 spot. I believe it's August 21st, Andrew. If we make some moves, I think we can continue to fight for the 1 or the 2 spot. I don't know if anybody else is going to run away. Well, that's yet to be determined. And so I think it's kind of a not quite a wait and see because we need to not fall too far behind. But Saturday is going to be a big one. Like, can we get a point? Can we keep Tulsa from gaining more ground on us? I don't expect us to go in there and necessarily win, but that's going to be one of those games that if we go out and get our ass kicked again, we could be in some serious trouble. If we fight, even if we lose, but it's a good fight, then maybe we can pull something from that. And if we can get a draw or miraculously a win, then we can start to build on that and do some things. But as of right now, I don't know. What do you think, Seth? Because I will be the first to say Shadow called me out on it without calling me out on it earlier. He said that you and Seth or you and him are the ones that are more. He said realistic. I'll say pessimistic sometimes, but I'll be the first to admit that I'm very optimistic all of the time. Partly because that's just my nature in everything is to be more optimistic and smiley and whatnot. And because of my job, one of these days it very well could get me killed because I don't take it. I take it serious, but I'm also pretty aloof when it comes to interacting with some people. And so it could be bad. Seth just disappeared on us, Shadow.
Don't worry, he will make the Undertaker entrance from a coffin.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
he
So
will come back.
there he is. So since he's working on some stuff, oh, there he is. You don't know what happened there?
No idea.
Now it's weird because I'm on the wrong side. Let's fix that. So what do you think, Seth? Is that fair, or do you think the sky is falling? Like our buddy Bonnie. I
haven't seen Bonnie. I honestly, I couldn't bring myself to look at the Nation after that.
It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Reddit and Discord were bad enough. I did not want to go to the Nation.
I can't do Reddit or Discord because they say some off the wall shit in there because they don't have a face behind the name.
That is
They're just
true.
like, whatever. There are no repercussions. Let's go. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So quickly, so August 21st is the end of the international transfer window. Beyond that, clubs have until September 8th. They can acquire free agents or transfers or loans within the league. So, so that's that. Official roster freeze is midnight Eastern on September 8th. So there is still some time left to make changes. I mean, obviously we saw Marlon Vargas come in the last season, tremendous late season signing and pickup. But as far as where we go from here, we have not looked great the last 6 matches. I think we won 3 of the last 10 in league, and that's
what Justin had said.
And while I applaud the performance at the end of the San Antonio match, I'm so tired of watching this club wait to show that sort of desire until the 80th minute. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of seeing, again, we talk, possession without purpose. It drives me up a wall. But this here against Hartford, this was, again, absolutely abysmal. We looked lost. Jabang looked completely out of his element, which is really strange because he's played center back for Sanchez before.
So let me ask you this real quick, Seth.
Yeah.
What loss was worse, this or El Paso?
I think this was more of a what in the fuck are we doing? Because we had zero direction. At least in El Paso, despite the lack of creation of anything, I felt like we had more of a direction in that match. And this just felt like we were running around playing U9 club soccer.
We've gone over this. I didn't watch the El Paso match. I couldn't watch it live. And then after I saw the result, I wasn't going to go back and put myself through that. I will say in this match, call it excuses if you want, call it what it is. We at least had the Ryden injury was in this match. We had him for El Paso. So that was a big part of why we lost in Hartford was Jabang was at center back. He was almost single-handedly responsible for 3 of the 4 goals. Which leads me to another point. Offensively, no, we did not look great. When you look at the score line, to me, we didn't play bad defensively except for one person. And so, I don't know. I look at this one coming off the El Paso or the San Antonio match on short rest, traveling east with an injury, and Jabang playing the worst I've ever seen a center back play in black and yellow, compared to an El Paso match with shorter travel against a rival in a moment of the season when we were actually in decent form. It's interesting to compare them to me. I don't know for sure which one was worse since I haven't watched them, but I thought I would get your opinion.
Yeah, we got the travel has to stop being an excuse. It has to stop being a reason that we throw out. There's easy. Like, I'm tired of it. I hate the East Coast narrative. I hate it.
It's you guys you're putting the narrative out there though. It's not true.
It fits.
It is not true. We have gone over this. The Hartford match notwithstanding,
we've gone to Hartford twice. We've lost to Hartford twice. Okay. Our East Coast trips are not good. Anything east of the Mississippi, we do not perform well.
I did the stats last week. We were exactly 500. Exactly. We don't get our ass kicked every time we go over there.
I'm not saying we get our ass kicked. I'm just saying that we
That's what it
perform
makes.
at we don't perform at the same level that we do here or anywhere west of the Mississippi, for that matter. We just don't. We don't even the wins that we've had on the East Coast. Like they're not the performances that we should expect.
I could chime in from a different aspect, or let's say a different
Sure.
route in the USL, because my Hearts of Pine are doing the same thing. Like we are abysmal on away matches. Like we have one win, which was against Texoma, where your favorite ex-Phoenix player is playing,
Yep.
hint Asante, and we're winning this match because of an own goal, but our away matches are abysmal, really performance-wise, completely bonkers. Our home matches in front of the always sold out 5K 1,000 crowd, performance-wise, way better, great soccer in most of the aspects. And the thing is, I'm completely on the safe side of things, which regards the travel, because you often hear like the comments like, hey, we shouldn't be bad about the team. They had to travel. They don't have the home support. And I think like, okay, but every team has the same issues. Like we had to travel from Maine to Washington to play in Spokane, but they will have to do the same thing again, just the other way direction. So to just use the travel and time distance is a bit for me too easy as a reason to play. But of the performance aspect, when the Hearts of Pine play at home, you clearly see them on a, let's say, win or death mentality. In away matches, you see them playing with a draw is completely okay. Like when we are leading 1-0, they don't hunt for a second goal. They're just happy with sitting back and claiming the 1-0 win. And when they are 1-0 behind, for example, you see them hunting for the 1-1 equalizer, but then not doing anything since then. So I completely agree on the thing, like you can be mentally completely different on certain aspects, but I would never accept the excuse of we have to travel anything anywhere, because it evens itself out at some point. And if you claim to be a bad team just because you travel, then we have to go to the COVID days and have everyone play at the same spot, or you have groups with 3 teams and play each other 10 times. So it can't go the way in my eyes.
Speaking of those COVID seasons, I mean, I know we handled things differently than other leagues did, but go back to COVID. We played every single match on the road. Every single match. We were traveling back and forth to the state. We didn't even, and historically that the club did that anyway, whether you had multiple matches on the road. We didn't even come home after San Antonio. So you can't say, oh, we came back and then we flew back out to Harvard. You can't do that. Like we.
So let me be clear. I'm not blaming this loss on going back east. I was comparing specifically this loss and how bad it was to the El Paso loss. And when I look at those two losses, that is a drastically different day of travel or week of travel and week of preparation, because it was short week and there was longer travel involved. I don't really give a damn about the traveling back east narrative, because I've been the one screaming that it's a non-narrative to me anyways. I was just comparing those two matches, and I wonder. I think that the El Paso loss could have been worse. We're definitely in a worse run of form right now, so it feels worse, capping off the disaster of the last month and a half that we've had. But we're not this bad, and we might not be as good as we were when we had back-to-back 3-0 wins against Orange County and Oakland. We're probably somewhere in between, and we can get better, and I think we will get better. But like Josh says, every team goes through it, and I don't know exactly what he's referring to there, probably the away stuff, but like we are in a lull. The best teams don't get in a lull, but good teams still do, and I still think we're a good team. So I'm not sitting here slamming the panic button. My finger's definitely hovering over it. But when you are shorthanded, you make a transfer that makes you more shorthanded. You're trying to implement a star player. You have 2 games in 4 days. The real test, which I said going into the 2-week break before we played San Antonio, I said the San Antonio match is what it is. If we come out of the group, we come out of the group. I'm not looking at that as a real barometer for how we're going to be the rest of the season. Even the Hartford match, I said the same thing. It's an East Coast team. Not the traveling East Coast, but since it's an Eastern Conference team, it's not a 6-point game like Tulsa is. Like Tulsa is a 6-point game. There could be a huge swing there depending on the result. And so I said it 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks ago, and I'll say it tonight, or 2 weeks ago, and I'll say it tonight. This match on Saturday, if we come out and shit the bed, I will be hitting the panic button. If we come out and play good or fine, I'll be like, okay, that's more indicative of who we are. And so I'm still in a kind of a wait and see, admitting that we haven't been doing very well, 100%. But we've had some time off with the 10 days and then the 14 days earlier, and we've made some changes, and I got to expect, like, it's not the exact same group that we had last year, but it's a decent sized chunk of the same group last year. And I don't think they're going to just sit here and be like, oh, well, and then come out and shit the bed against Tulsa.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of on the same boat as the Tulsa match being of concern. And, transitioning to that, obviously we have FC Tulsa this Saturday out at 1 OK Field. By the way, there is no radio coverage of this match. I know I said it last week. There will be no radio coverage because of a stupid football team out of Dallas. But obviously, I know I said a couple weeks ago, I wanted to see us go through in the Cup. I wanted to see us perform against the San Antonio team that we can beat. That is a talented team. I was concerned about Hartford, that if we didn't perform well in Hartford, that it might carry over. And so that is where some of my concern is for this weekend. And I think Tulsa is a better team than Hartford is. But neither of us are experts on Tulsa. We don't really follow Tulsa day in and day out. So Shadow Wolf, let's bring you into this here as well. What is it about Tulsa that they're doing so right this year? And what are the concerns that you have for them hosting a United team that has been struggling away from home?
It's a difficult question because I hear Tulsa peeps already thinking we have the best Tulsa team in club history, which I think it's a bit too early to say because Tulsa is now, I believe, 3 weeks in a row on the first spot. It's not like we are like the dominating team for months now. The thing is with Tulsa, they found the right key pieces which can be lethal. But on the same thing, if they don't are lethal, New Mexico has a good day. Because, for example, one of the key pieces is Jamie Weber, the South African young midfielder / central attacking midfielder. He was brought in for, I believe, $1 million transfer fee, record fee for the club. And since then, he's really connecting the passes, being a really good guy on the pitch. And without him, you see the club lacking some sorts of, let's say, the typical playmaking. And the main goals come by Taylor Carrera, who has 9 goals in the regular season so far. But if he can't play, they are not on the same level. So Dadu, for example, I believe scored 3 goals at best. So to make it easy, they are currently on a good one. They have key pieces who fit together and who can play, but outside of them, it will be difficult. So if New Mexico can face on the problem areas of Tulsa or blocking the best guys to make something meaningful, Tulsa will struggle. Because if you look on the last 10 matches of Tulsa, they don't have really flashy wins. Most of them are grinding games where they are lucky to win with 1 goal more than the opponent. And they still concede a lot of goals. Like against Vegas, I believe 3 goals. Against Loudon, 2 goals. Like, it's not like Tulsa is really that dominating and that great. They are, let's say, on a good run. They have better quality than the last years and seem to have really a bit more team spirit than just being like 11 guys on the pitch. But I don't really see them being up to the task just because they are number 1 spot. Because just one bad thing have to happen and it can all fall apart. And as someone who watched most of their games, I'm still not really convinced we deserve to be in the 1 spot. Like playoff contender, I'm completely going with that. Maybe top 5, okay. But first, I would just say we are on the right time at the right spot, but not really because Tulsa's like the Louisville of the West.
Well, that's the thing is the West doesn't have a Louisville, a Charleston, or even a Loudon as far as the standings. They were so nobody deserves to be number 1 in the West if we're being honest with ourselves. And so it's really up for grabs, which is why I'm not freaking out about where we are in the standings right now. But I mean, Tulsa is a team that I predicted to miss the playoffs. And so I have been dead wrong on Tulsa all season. And because of that, I've, after 6-7 games, I was like, okay, let's see what this Tulsa team is about. And I've been impressed with how they play. What I like about how they play, though, is that you're right. It's not flashy. It's not a 6-0 win. It's not, complete control all the time. But they just have a ton of grit and a ton of passion and heart. And it reminds me of us last year a little bit. We didn't give up. We never gave up. And we continued to fight and fight and fight week after week after week. And that's what Tulsa has done this year as well. So
exactly. Like Mariano, the host of the FC Tulsa podcast 918 Outsiders, compared our team with San Antonio in their title season when they were all going on with their mentality monster aspect, which is in my eyes, as you already talked about, one of the key aspects of why Tulsa is that good. They have the mentality right, they have the quality right, they are doing things right, but if you can make them pay and let's say, distract their key pieces, I still see New Mexico being able to win the match or to at least getting a solid draw. So obviously I try to be positive about Tulsa, and as an SG member, I should do that, obviously. But as someone who watches New Mexico also on a regular basis, I don't really see being a big gap between 2 teams. So, yeah. The grit, the fight is really good there, and combined to some years where we had like just a bunch of guys on the pitch. But let's be honest, if you want to be the number 1, you have to show the grit. And the same goes with New Mexico United. You got punched in the mouth, and if you really want to prove yourself, you have to do the same thing. Like, show the grit, show the fighting spirit. And even though you're not on the Quill kind of form or team spirit, you still have to do it at some kind. Mm-hmm. And if you beat Tulsa, maybe this is the cornerstone to build the next weeks off. So I'm going the same route. Like, it could be a copycat game, and it should be.
Yeah, and I think if we can get 3 points, I mean, it is massive because quietly Tulsa has opened up a 7-point lead on us. Granted, we have a match in hand, but even going out and winning this match puts us only within 4 points of them. Granted, with a match in hand, but still, like, a match in hand is not a guaranteed 3 points, as we've learned. So it's a match that what scares me about it is that you guys have shown that grit. Tulsa has shown that grit and that determination. And we have, in moments, the San Antonio match is an example of that at the end. But the majority of the time, Hartford is a perfect example. We did not have any grit. We did not have any fight. And going on the road has definitely been harder to get that fight for some reason. Granted, I know San Antonio was on the road, but San Antonio, this might sound harsh, but San Antonio is a place that actually gets fans. So there is noise in the stadium. And I, as somebody who's played at much lower levels than this in sports, it is pretty hard to gear up for a match, like to get yourself up and really work up some adrenaline when it's dead. Not saying it's dead in Tulsa or dead in Hartford. It's just not quite the same level as some other places. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation where I could see us going in there and Tulsa laying an egg and us taking 3 points. I could see us laying an egg, and then I could see it be kind of a chess match type. You move, I move, you move, I move that ends in a boring draw. I don't know. I seem to be a little higher on Tulsa than Shadow Wolf, but he also is realistic, more realistic.
I mean, to be quite honest, the thing, as I said, they have key pieces which are really connecting together, but except them, it's tough for them to really, let's say, replace that. Because if Taylor Calera has a bad day, the best striker, they still will struggle to have the meaningful goals, because Khalil Emetka, who was great at Loudon, is not bad at Tulsa, but not on the same scoring threat level like Calera. So you have enough scouting material on Tulsa to see the bad pieces, let's say blocking the wingers to make the good passes to Calera, maybe blocking the guys or blocking the run of Weber if he's not healthy enough to play. So there are pieces to use to block them and to make them pay, because as we already talked about, their defense is not that great. Like, they concede enough goals even in their wins. So I really want to be optimistic about Tulsa, but they still have too many things to prove. And as long...
Let me ask you this, Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Tulsa is concerned, as far as New Mexico United is concerned, what's really hurt us from a defensive standpoint is, one, giving up the ball in bad spots in a press or a counter press, and then set pieces. How does Tulsa fare? How do they like to press? Are they a high pressing team? Do they like to counter press as soon as they give up the ball deep in their own half? Because that's hurt us. And then how are they on set pieces?
I have to say they are really good to adapt to the opponent, and they are happy to give them the ball and letting them having the fun, because they are really good at counterattacks and liking to kill them down. So I would say they would be happy just to let New Mexico do their thing and wait for mistakes and then push hard to break them down and to use that. And if they can use that, because New Mexico has some issues, like, for example, Tabakis making mistakes, having misused players as center backs, they will punish you for that. And the main strength, which you shouldn't forget, is Tulsa has now a really good bench where they can sub in and sub out. And this is one of the reasons why they are so good. If you look on the results against Loudon or Vegas, they were down for some of the time, then made good substitutions and could turn the game around. So let's say you make the Hartford thing just reverse. You have an early good start, score 2 or 3 goals, then Tulsa will struggle to come to the same route. So I would say don't really worry about what Tulsa will do, more about what will you do in the game, because Tulsa is happy to do anything just to punch you in the mouth. But if they can choose, they can press, but they really like to counter and then punish you on the turnover. And you saw that against Hartford, for example. Using some mistakes, using some set pieces. So I would say be more worried about your own problems than just focusing on Tulsa, because they will find a way to punish you. And if they come into your head, it's already too late. Like if you are more, let's say, bickering on the pitch and thinking, okay, you should go there, then it's already too late.
I do think that is an area of concern for us. We have not played well against teams that like to counter. I mean, look at what Hartford did. Look at what San Antonio did. But a lot of that was us putting ourselves in bad positions and allowing these teams to do that. So, I mean, if that's where Tulsa excels, I think that's something that is going to be of concern for us this weekend.
It depends on because Hartford. One of the things that I thought Hartford did really well was, now one of Jabang's passes was completely just, there was no pressure on him whatsoever. But the other goals were more taking it to us defensively and forcing us to make a mistake. Because we've seen the teams that sit back. If Tulsa comes out and sits down in a lower block and doesn't try to force the issue when we have the ball at all, then that's not something that I've been super concerned about throughout the season. It's when they press, maybe not like a full-on press, but if they put pressure on our center backs when our center backs have the ball at mid-pitch, that worries me. But if they're just going to be down here waiting for us to make a mistake deep, then it is what I'm not too concerned about.
To be honest, Tulsa is, in my opinion, good at both. Like, they could wait for you to make something, but if they see a weakness, they are like a wolf pack and hunt you down and try to punish you at this weakness. Like, you saw them being down, then making counterattacks, or they see, I believe, like last game against Loudoun, they gave the ball to one of the, let's say, left wing backs. They made the right pieces that he could run undisturbed, and he made the perfect pass to Carrera in the box, who could have easily been blocked by the defense and then scored the goal. So I would say it really depends on what game plan New Mexico brings into the match and what Tulsa wants to do on the night, but they can do both. They can try to dictate and grind you out, or they can just be happy and sit back. But you shouldn't forget one aspect which could be good for you. They have to play a midweek match. They play against, I forgot the name. Yeah, Monterey.
Monterey
Yeah,
Bay.
Blancrest FC, Monterey Bay. And so they have to rotate. I don't really know where they will focus on. Like, I would focus more on New Mexico, but obviously you don't want to really lose this match against Monterey. So in my eyes, this could be a turning point for you, because they have to rotate a lot. They have to use the bench earlier than usual. So this should be good for you. You are rested. You have more time. You have more time to scout, to focus. And Tulsa will, in my eyes, make at least one deadly mistake. And then it depends, can you punish it, or will it, let's say, go unforsaken and then Tulsa comes back into the match?
Fair enough. I think it's a fair assessment. And Justin, I think this is going to be a physical game, which is not good for us. I mean, to be fair, that's just the way we are. We don't do well in these physical games whatsoever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to have hope. As a fan, I want to have hope. As an impartial media member, I don't know. We're heading in two completely different directions right now. And we've got to get the back sorted out. I don't think we're done with the roster. I really don't think we are. I do think, again, the timing of McKenzie and Herbert going out was not great. I think Jay Seiss leaving the club, although to be fair, going to college, great for him. Congratulations, Jace. Not having that him back there as a body, as a potential body, is not good. But we have to get that sorted. We really do. And until Kalen gets back, I mean, I know we're expecting Kalen maybe a couple more weeks. I know he was in the 18 against Hartford. I was not expecting him to play at all. So I'm not surprised that he didn't. I think it was just to fill the bench spot, although for what reason, I don't know. But, Hursty is still getting healthy. Ryden's coming back. Dayon's, still getting match fit.
He looks good, though, I tell you.
Dayon did look good. I will say that. So I think having Dayon is something that's going to give us, some more hope, especially with the loss of Gaines. Dayon's looking good. Noel looks good so far. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but the potential of having him there, I would rather have Jace on the bench as a possibility than have Ryden sitting there injured. I would much rather have that, but that's just me. But no, I mean, we do have some exciting pieces. We do have some things that I think play into our favor, going into this match this weekend, but I just don't know. Whatever the messaging is, I think that might be part of it too. And I know that Dennis has not shown the same things. The club hasn't shown the same things from Dennis that Quill did. So I don't know. I don't know what the message is. I don't know what got lost after the comeback at San Antonio. I don't know what was said at halftime of that Hartford match. I don't know what the message is going into this weekend, but the club has to be focused. The club has to create. And I think using the pace, using Dayon, again, Dayon's probably going to see limited minutes. May at best 60 minutes for Dayon. Hursty maybe 60 minutes again, because they only planned on playing 45 last week. So I think there's a chance, but I'm not optimistic. So I don't know. What do you say? What do you say we get into our score predictions for Saturday?
I would like to hear Shadows first.
Okay.
If he's doing one.
Yeah, it's tough because I like both teams. I enjoy New Mexico. I watch them for much time, and I obviously don't want to be against you and never come back to this podcast or hear Jacob bicker about me for the next 20-ish weeks because I predicted wrong.
No.
But no, seriously, it's tough for me to guess. But for me, I would say the first team which will make a big mistake will get punished and probably lose. And because maybe both teams or both coaches think the same, I could see a draw, maybe a high-scoring affair. But I still would say the first big mistake will get punished and then dictate the whole game. If I had to make a mistake just to be on both good sides, I would say it's a 2-2 draw. But yeah, I'm not optimistic about a win for one of the teams.
Fair enough. I think it's a fair assessment. Jacob?
So back to the optimistic Jacob. I have to believe that the 10 days of reflection after that ass kicking, mixed with the fact that they're if there was any inkling of overlooking of Hartford, which I don't think there was, but if there was, there definitely shouldn't. There can't be any in this match. Tulsa is the top of the West. They're who you're chasing right now. I gotta believe that we have something in the tank more than what we just saw. And so I gotta go the most popular score line. Not this year as much, but usually 2-1. And I don't know who has 2 or who has 1, but I think it'll be 2-1.
Now you got to go one way or the other, Jacob.
I'll go us because I'm relatively sure I'm now 4-5 seasons into this podcast. 6 seasons into this podcast. What season are we in? Six seasons into this podcast. I don't think I've ever. Now I think I have once, and it was like, "What the hell are you doing?" But I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to do that again ever. So I can't. I could root for. Not root for. I could predict a draw. I I don't think it'll be a draw. We only have one draw on the whole season, if you don't include like the 3 PK games, which technically are draws if we're being realistic or if we're being honest. But in league play, we only have the one, and I think we either go for it and get the win, or we go for it trying to get the win and we end up getting the loss. But I'll say 2-1 us, and lock it in. Lock it in. It's gonna happen. Chisel it in stone.
Well, Jacob, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong.
I believe you. I believe you.
Well,
be careful, Seth, because if I am right, next week's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that it will be. By the way, we still never heard anything from Jerry, so I don't know. I really don't think Jerry's watching or commenting anywhere. So,
Jerry. Here's the thing: Jerry's never existed. He is. It was Earl all along.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I would not be surprised. Justin says 2-0 Tulsa. Bolty says 2-1 Tulsa win.
Smash and grab.
Yeah, and would love a smash and grab. Expecting a KG 2-1 Tulsa win. Like I said, we're going 2 different directions right now. We really are. We're on a downswing. I would have liked to have seen some confidence come out of that, come from behind effort against San Antonio. But we were just completely and utterly flat and directionless last Wednesday. I'm gonna say 2-1 Tulsa. I mean, I think we look better. I do think we play better defensively, but I think they just get a couple quality goals. Nothing like what you saw against Hartford, but I do think we see a better overall performance. But I think we lose on the road to Tulsa. So that's just where I'm at with it. All right.
I definitely wouldn't be surprised. So I'd be more surprised if my prediction's right. I'll put it that way.
All right. Any other matches we're keeping an eye on this weekend before we get out of here?
Man, I've had so little time to watch other matches this year. It's been sad. We're slowing down at work though. We're entering school season. Summer is just chaos. Like summer is. Do you ever watch the Wild Thornberries?
No.
Back in the day? No, you never watched the Wild Thornberries back in the day? God, you probably watched the news, didn't you? You're a little 6-year-old boy with glasses.
I was too old.
The news.
I was too old for Thornberries.
You're not that much older than me, Seth. You're 38?
I'm 40.
God, you are old. Never mind.
It ran in 1998, so I was already 14. I was 14 when that show started.
Did you ever watch One Tree Hill?
No.
Oh, man. I can't make any jokes with you because you wouldn't get any of them.
I watched Smallville, Angel, Buffy, Firefly.
I would watch all that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but no, yeah. I mean, summer's winding down. One more month until
It's already on, Justin.
Most of the summer stuff ends. So, all right. So yeah, man. Shadow, you got anything else you're keeping an eye on this weekend? Any league?
Honestly, not really. Like, I will be busy watching my Hearts of Pine playing on Saturday at 11 p.m. my time, which is strange to have a pre-midnight kickoff. But then I will try to watch as much as possible in the hours later in the night to Sunday. Championship-wise, I may want to have my eyes on Birmingham against Hartford just to see where both teams are heading to see if the trend continues or if, let's say, the Hartford win was just a fluke, which I doubt. But the rest, I probably should have my eyes more on the League One side just to be more in the know. Which is the sad thing of covering the Hearts of Pine. I have to focus more on the League One side, which makes it difficult to watch more of the championship teams. But I try to still get some time into the championship teams like Rhode Island, obviously New Mexico. But looking on the games, I believe like Hartford, Birmingham is the only one which really, let's say, tingles my funny bone. I would have said Rhode Island, but as someone who watched them since day one, I'm just too frustrated with them to really say, put your eyes on the match.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Shadow,
Completely understand.
do you have a team that you do not like in the USL? And why is it Sacramento?
I have to say Sacramento is a team I really dislike on a certain aspect because I think they are overhyped. Like they had one good run in the Open Cup in the last, what was it, 5 years, 6 years? But except that they are not really doing anything great, but somehow are still seen as one of the key aspects of the league. But really hating, difficult to say. Back in the day, when I had OKC, and even then I couldn't hate Tulsa because Tulsa was just too nice, the fan bases to us. So maybe Westchester in the League One. I can't take them seriously. Like they are wannabe New York-ish club playing on a horrific soccer pitch and having like a Western Sydney Wanderers knockoff logo. Yeah, I would say maybe they are my. I can't take them seriously club.
I mean, I don't follow League One as much as
But championship,
I
I currently don't see anyone. Okay, Phoenix, but Phoenix is more like a long time dislike since the Landon Donovan days when they were really dog shits to certain people.
Yeah.
And since then, I'm still the neutral one compared to my co-host, which is really hating them as much. But I don't really like them. I have to say that.
Nobody does. I don't even think that their own fans don't even like them, if we're being honest. Yeah, the Westchester one hurts a little bit because that's where my boy Rashid Tete is right now. But he's the only reason why I even know who Westchester is, if I'm being honest. So
you don't have to know. Like it's completely okay to not know them.
Good.
Fair enough. Yeah, Rashid, obviously huge fan favorite here. We will certainly miss having him around. So yeah, I guess before we get out of here, Bolty's mentioned earlier. I said something over on the ESPN radio account, I think yesterday. UNM Lobo women's soccer has an exhibition this Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Free admission, by the way. 7:30 p.m. Watch them take on UTEP. And then they did also announce an update to their schedule as well. They've added a match on Sunday, August 24th against the Colorado School of Mines. That's a home match on August 24th. So go out supporting the UNM Lobo women's soccer team. Maybe eventually UNM will get their heads out of their asses and put the men's team back on the pitch. Highly doubt that though. So, alrighty. Before we get out of here, Shadow, thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate you taking the time to be here at 4 a.m. Your time.
Now it's 5:30, by the way.
It is 5:30. Yes. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they follow your podcasts? And you are an author as well.
Yep. So I just finished my sixth novel a few days ago, and I'm still in the proofreading phase before I really consider it done. But you can find me on Blue Sky and also Twitter with the name you see in the ground. My podcast is still just on Spotify and my English podcast, I should be precise, is just still on Spotify. It's called Fallen Leaves, the main podcast, which covers the Hearts of Pine as the main topic. But also I try to cover main soccer as in general too, which is really fun to cover the Hearts of Pine and covering the local main soccer scene. I just had a radio legend on the air, which was doing the main Celtics play-by-play for 10 plus years. It's really a fun guy to talk to. So yeah, you can find my English podcast on Spotify as Fallen Leaves, the main podcast, and myself as Shadow Wolf on Twitter or Blue Sky. And then we can bicker about El Paso, Phoenix, or maybe Colorado Rapids if we have to hate someone.
Very cool. So, guys, go check him out. Give him a follow across social media. Go give his podcast a follow. Shadow Wolf has been a listener to us of ours for a long time now. We certainly appreciate all the love he gives to us and to other USL clubs across social media, as well as their podcasts and everything. So, go give him a follow. Go check him out. Jacob, any closing thoughts? Are you ready to get us out of here?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I want to echo Seth's words there and thank Shadow Wolf for coming on. I knew if we'd have reached out, you probably would have wanted to, but I don't remember actually having you be like, hey, I want to be coming on until last week. And so glad we could make it happen in pretty short order here. And shout out to Seth for putting that all together. I've had a busy week. And so Seth kind of surprised us with it today. So I saw the communication back and forth on Twitter, so I knew it was coming, but it was still cool to see that and to have you on, and I thought it went fantastic. I'd love to have you back. We'll bring you back maybe closer to the playoffs or in the playoffs and get your opinions there too, because it was, I think what I've liked about the pod is, you know, we've got Harry that we've kind of always had, and then last week we have Jeremiah come on who did fantastic and is a kid that I think has a lot of good things to say. And I enjoyed talking to him at the games and enjoyed having him on. Now we've got Shadow Wolf that we can bring back at some points if he's willing to stay up or get up super. Did you get up super early or did you stay up all night, Shadow Wolf?
I stayed up all night.
Okay. Huge shout out there because that's crazy to me. I cannot do that anymore. It does not work for me. But yeah, and so we're just getting a nice little collection of people that we can pop on and pop off. We've had Andrew on. We got to get Justin or Josh on. They've been in the chat since preseason. I don't know if either of them have missed an episode in the chat. So, and Jane would be fun to have on. So we're just getting a nice little stable of people that we can have on or rotate through, and it's just fun to watch and see the crew kind of grow and whatnot. It's just been a good time. So thank you again, Shadow Wolf, for coming on. Thanks everybody over in the chat. Justin, Josh, Jane, myself, before I got on here. Christina was over in the chat a little bit as she's at the Counting Crows concert, which apparently she can count the people attending on one hand, which is sad because I love the Counting Crows. And thank you for the people that listen in the future when we're not on here. Yeah, Carlos has been on in the past. Now that he works for the club, we'll have him on for sure. And congrats to him on that, and congrats to Lubbock on their season and his time over there. And so, it's continuing to be a blessing to be able to be on here. And I thank all y'all that make it possible. Rate and review us on the podcast player of your choice if you listen at a later time, and be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media and YouTube and all that. And if you do listen or you watch but you don't comment, like, why not? Like, come on, get involved. That's part of the fun about doing it live and being here. Part of the fun of doing it live is you never know what we're going to say. I never know what I'm going to say half the time. And then part of it is being able to interact with you guys. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. I think Christina will be back. She doesn't have a concert to attend next week. So I think we'll just run with the three of us for the first time in a while, which will be nice. And hopefully we'll be talking about some kind of points coming out of Tulsa, or at least a better showing than what we had against Hartford. And, we're getting to net crunch time. We got 13 matches left in the regular season, or 14, matches left in the regular season. So we're just past the halfway mark, currently sitting in 5th place, but we're right there. I think if I remember right, I'll look real quick. If we win the match in hand that we have, we'd be right back up in 2nd place. And so, yeah, so we're right there. We're still in the thick of it. Don't freak out just yet. And whatever you do, don't get brainwashed by Bonnie, who's saying to fire Sanchez right now. At the end of the season, we might be able to fire Sanchez. I don't know, but depending on how things go, but definitely not right now. So stay with United. Be sure to show up to the home games. We don't have another one until I think Wednesday of next week, if I remember correct. So, or the week after, I can't remember. Maybe it's Saturday. I don't know. I'll look later. But we'll be back next week talking about the Tulsa match. And until then, love y'all. Somos Ninos.